Today, we are going to talk about people. We've been talking a lot about people lately, but specifically today, we are talking about bringing people together. And hey, why that's kind of awesome. And also why sometimes bringing people together is kind of a pain in the butt. So we'll get both sides of the bringing people together, why we're doing it as firms. And we'll even talk to one of our friends we'll introduce here in a minute and why she does it in her firm. All of that here today on Drink Why You Think, the weekly happy hour conversation between a couple of guys, and sometimes they're friends like today. We're building their accounting firms in super weird ways. I'm your host, Kenji. My other co-host, Matthew. Matthew, we've got a sponsor today. Tell us who the sponsor is.
Today's episode of Drink While You Think is sponsored by Third Window. Third Window. If you're in Santa Barbara, California, or in a city that is a distributor that has Third Window, definitely try it. It's like a winemaker's dream when a winemaker goes brewmaster. Third Window. You like it? Oh, for those YouTubers, you get to see the logo. We got t-shirts. It's awesome.
That's true. Awesome. Let's introduce our dear friend, Marissa Jones, who's here with us. Howdy, Marissa.
Howdy.
Howdy. Give us a quick intro, who you are, what you're doing, and then finish it off with what you're drinking today.
Okay. Well, starting with the not as fun stuff. I'm Marissa Jones. I have an accounting company, which is my primary accounting company. It's my baby. It's a general service-based practice. And then from there, I have launched some other CAS firms that are in more specific niches and verticals. I did that with the idea that I wanted to focus more strategic efforts on marketing and having culture and people around people very excited about a particular industry. So yeah. And then now I'm working on trying to develop a first software. So we'll see how that
goes. And what are you drinking?
I'm drinking something from our sponsor, Third Window. And it's an IPA, which is kind of the only beer I drink. And this one's called The Next. And it's got their core values on the beer in the name.
That's super cool. We just did our last episode was about core values.
That's
awesome.
You
guys have ones on your beers? What do you guys drink?
We need to do that. Oh man, that's awesome. Matthew, what are you drinking?
I'm also drinking from Third Window, the port Walkabout.
So this one's cool because they gather a bunch of, they have a donation where if you live in Santa Barbara and your orange tree is bursting with too many oranges, as it usually happens, then you come and bring your oranges there and then they make beer out of it.
Man, just look at that. Like that sounds very California-like, right? Like just come bring your oranges in. We're gonna make some beer with it.
Yeah.
It's just okay. I'm cracking mine. I'm going with the same theme. We got Third Window here that Marissa sent out to us. I'm going with their Saison. I was looking online. It looks like they do a lot of farmhouse beers, which is super cool. I kind of really dig a farmhouse. Saison is one of my favorites. You knew that. It's a bottle conditioned, which I like bottle conditioned ones because they get even better. They're better carbonation. So I'm pumped about this one.
Cups, and I only have my can.
I know. I get nerdy.
Apparently, I'm not good at this.
I think you're good at it. I think
Kenji gives me a hard time if I don't bring a glass. So because you sent it.
I will not give Marissa a hard time because she is cheers, everybody. Thank you for coming on, Marissa.
For having me, bringing people together.
Oh, that is yummy. That's like almost champagne-like. My wife always says that why she likes Saisons too, because really good ones kind of are almost like champagne-y. That is, we're gonna get a good high score on this one. Before we jump into the really fun accounting nerdy stuff, like what's the story with this with Third Window? Like I guess it's a local brewery there in your hometown in Santa Barbara, but what's the connection? Why'd you pick this one to send to us?
So it's the grandson of Fess Parker. I went to school with the Fess Parker children and grandchildren and things like that, and that whole thing. They're very big in Santa Ynez, and they have their own winery, and it was kind of the first winery that was in Santa Ynez, or at least one of the bigger ones before it became the little Napa of the South. And so one of their heirs now does Third Window Brewery, and right now my husband is operating his one of his pop-ups there. So they try to bring people together by allowing them to have a space and a place to test out new ideas, concepts. And it's in this place where there's also other establishments. So there's another winery, and then there's some other businesses around, and then everybody kind of comes together in the middle. So you can eat, drink, and you don't have to separate it because you're two different businesses. They all come together. Right. Yeah,
that's my kind of place. That sounds
seriously.
awesome.
I mean, there you go. I mean, this could almost be like end of podcast, because that's the punchline of this is to bring people together, good food and drink, done, easy, out. I mean, that's what's better than that. We get to do that last year. We get to eat with your husband and at one of the restaurants he'd worked at. So he's a killer chef. Anyway, okay. Let's get into some side. But actually, before we get into the gathering, I am a little curious. Are you able to talk about you mentioned software you're working on. Are you kind of still under the radar on that a bit, or are you talking?
No, we're not under the radar at all, but it definitely has to do with people. Bringing people together and making sure people are in the right place. And we kind of got into it as we were trying to really understand our employees and leveraging different assessments and different questionnaires and trying to do team optimization based on gathering these results. But it's all been a very manual and arduous process, as I'm sure everybody knows. And then how does all of that tie into the actual culture of the company? So what we're trying to do is automate that process and make sure, and especially starting in the hiring process, making sure that you're getting the right candidates from the start.
Nice. So if I'm hearing you right, will this incorporate somehow in the hiring process, incorporate values, culture, or personality type? Is that kind of how it's going to?
Exactly. Yeah. So you're matching those things first as the initial criteria. So if you don't match to a company based on the company's values and mission and culture, try to stay away from that word. Then you're not going to match that company, and then skills are secondary. So you obviously have to have that skills assessment implemented in the process as well.
Cool.
Let's go, Matt, real quick on that one. Matthew, would you agree with that? Would you go in that order too in hiring? Would you say values alignment even before the skills?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. I wanted to see.
I mean,
I'm curious too. Sometimes people have a different response. Some people are like, no, we always hire for technical.
You have to have the skills, but that's a great. I would love the skills. I think that's great because if you in an accounting firm, we tend to know how to screen for the skills. So if you pre-screen for the culture first, you're not trying to force fit the skills into a position. And
you wasted so much time in that process too. You're like, oh, they have all the skills. We'll push them through the interviews and we'll do all the things that we have to do. And then by the time they get to your desk, they're still like, oh, they're not quite the right fit for. Yeah. They're quiet quitters.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how good your skills are. You don't align with us, you are not going to enjoy this process very much. And neither are we. Damn it. Yeah. I like this. Okay. Well,
and it's some of those soft skills too. It's like, some of those soft skills are highlighted to be able to match.
We may have somebody who was a speaker at our most recent gathering who I should introduce you to. Someone who created and exited a rather large employee, I guess, hiring platform. So Jazz HR, he was one of our speakers at Acuity. He might be, and he's since exited that. He may be a good contact for you to talk to. Anyway, okay, very, very cool. Marissa, yes, is doing a million different cool things. One of the cool things that I got to do with her last year, I'd met you before at a gathering of people, a little bit of an informal one by some of our friends. You, however, and it looks like you might be repeating this again, which I'm not sure why you signed up for this.
It takes 2 seconds to send out a survey, but I'm not going to be like.
Last year you hosted a gathering. And it was meant to be super informal. I think it was like, hey, everybody kind of come together. You're like, why in the world would you even volunteer for something like that? I mean, seriously. I mean, I guess we had a good time when we were all in Arizona together. Well, you just like, hey, I want to replicate that again, and I don't mind having to be the person to pull everyone together? Or what about it was like, why in the world would you do that? Would you go through that? Because it's a pain in the butt. It's effort.
Yeah. If I had to tell you the amount of hours that I spent bringing everybody together, bringing the people together for an event like that, it was probably like 3 hours, maybe. It was very little effort, I'm telling you. So, bringing people together is sometimes just, that's it, Kenji. It's just like taking the initiative to be like, hey, let's do this. Hey, this is the date. Hey, let's make it happen. And then it kind of just happens naturally. And so that's the same thing with I think we're going to be doing.
Did beforehand or during, were you like stressed out about it? Were you like, see, damn it, this is
no, but I wasn't hosting Acuity Con with hundreds of people. That's different. You're probably comparing it to what you just went through this week.
It doesn't matter. With him, he stresses out. Like I mean, I don't feel like I stress like any iota close to Kenji. Kenji is like, he's like visibly stressed out. Like before any gathering, it doesn't matter if he's planned it for 10 people or if he's planned it for 150 people. It doesn't matter. He's stressed out.
Well, I was going to say, like
performing brain surgery, I'd be stressed out, but like this stuff, who cares?
But Matthew knows me really well, and actually Marissa, for someone who we haven't hung out a ton, you know me actually really pretty well. Like I don't get stressed about many things. I mean, I really don't. I'm pretty even keeled. But something about pulling people together, I think because I enjoy it so much. I mean, no one loves a good gathering, a good party like me. I mean, everyone knows that. So I think I like just very much, I just want it to go well. And especially if I know I have responsibility, like I'm just worried. I'm like, I don't want to suck. So I do get like, I've been so grumpy the past month, and everybody at Acuity knows this, especially Matthew. Like I just nervous and stressed out about it. But like, you definitely seem like, yep, even with this new gathering we're talking about doing informally, you're like, cool, I'll just put out a quick form for it, let people fill it out. And it's not bothering you at all. So I guess some people can just do this much easier than others like me. And it's not, I don't know, it's not a big deal.
Or maybe your stress is a derivative of the amount of fun that you anticipate not having because you have to put it on. Like, I want to go, I want to have fun. Now I'm stressed out because I can't have fun.
A little bit. I mean, Matthew, maybe we can reflect on just even when we've been at AICPA Engage or whether we've been there or not, like, right. That's a good example of where we've done that 2 years now. Maybe describe what we've done for the past 2 years. And we won't implicate anybody in this one, but it was a pretty different experience over 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, we decided like everybody was missing a place to gather after all these planned events. So we rented a room at the overlooking the Bellagio fountains. Is actually at the Cosmo, but it overlooked the Bellagio fountains, so people could have a place to congregate after the after parties at AICPA Engage. And while conceptually that sounds great and it was fun, by the second or third night it just feels like a job. Like,
yeah,
do we have beer? Oh, do we have alcohol? Oh, are people sneaking in pot? Like, it's just like, or whatever. What's the word? We're supposed to call it
you can call it.
Son.
You sound a little old.
Okay, my son makes
fun
legal
of me out there in Vegas, I think. Yeah, yes.
It is, but like
some people,
but like I mean,
someone's brought their doobies into the
doobies are worse. I mean, do we have to worry about doobies or
I don't know, Matthew. I think it's like pot and doobies are on the same level now.
I think so.
So, no, I'm saying, are people bringing doobies or worse? Like, or harder drugs? Harder drugs. Yeah, whatever. But it did turn into a little bit of a chore when you're hosting, which kind of, I think, ruined some of the fun for you this year.
For me, it did. I mean, it was just very much like,
for me, I got a separate room this year, so it was awesome.
Yeah, you're smart. I was in the party room was actually where I was sleeping. So part of that also was like, everybody's got to go so I can go to bed, which I don't really do much of when we're at conferences anyway. But like, sometimes you're like, you want to go, or people are like, hey, this is cool. We stopped by for a drink. We're going to go out to this place now. And I'm like, well, I want to go, but there's still people walking around in my room. So anyway, it just, yes, I think it's a me thing. Maybe we're landing on the fact of the anxiousness or anxiety of hosting is a very Kenji specific challenge.
Yeah. One of the big challenges when you're hosting an event, when your primary weakness is FOMO, is that you can't do everything. And
Don't tell me that because I won't believe it. I think I can. I want to do all the things.
So
FOMO.
Okay.
Trust
Okay.
is over
So
FOMO.
that's fair. That's fair. Have you done? So you mentioned multiple teams. You started.
you've asked the wrong question. I'm gonna do a
Do
better
it.
question.
Jump in. Do some
Okay.
work for me for once,
Because
please.
I
Thank
feel
you.
like this is the question. For the Santa Barbara gathering, what made you want to do that?
Wait,
Like,
first of all, it's supposed to be somewhat secret gathering.
well, it's
Don't
in
worry.
the
Blasting it out for all 10 followers and your
Three
mother.
people. Yeah, three
it
people.
was
listen,
no,
so.
but that was in the past. I'm not talking about anything secret in the
Okay.
future.
All right, go.
For the Santa Barbara gathering, how
Yeah.
many people did you have, and what prompted you to do it? Like, what were you hoping to get out of it?
I think that we are all on the right path of being progressive firm leaders. And I think that we, you guys are up there on what we on the smaller firm side would call a bigger firm. um, but it's fun to kind of synergize off of that and collaborate and discuss things that. So, for example, Matthew, you weren't there, unfortunately. We would carve out most of the day, at least until like 2:00, on getting together, and everyone just open speaks about what they went through this year, how they can, what they're maybe working on, and then other people will jump in and talk about how they can maybe improve in these different areas. And so it was really it's a really great opportunity for everybody to get together, everybody who's kind of got the same idea in mind for what they want to be down the road, and then just bounce off ideas off of each other and just make sure we're all kind of like up to speed on what we're doing. And then one of the group members says that we're going to be the disruptors of the industry, so I always appreciate that. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
That's awesome.
I think so too. Yeah. And I'll say, by the way, too, it was my first time in Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara kicks ass. That is a great city. I mean, it's just it was a good opportunity to get together. And it's I do see a trend of where, I mean, we just this past week, the folks did that happy hour. That was like kind of a camping trip in North Carolina, or almost glamping trip. A bunch of people did. I think it's kind of cool, and yes, I get some FOMO, but like, I think it's cool that different firm owners are getting together and doing things like this, right? I mean, it's not the point of being exclusive, but like, you can't just, if you start opening up to everybody, then you're a whole freaking conference, and it kind of defeats the whole purpose. I just think there's tons of ways for people to get together, and like, we all share some of the same challenges and issues, so it's good to get together. And I like that the one that we did. It's the only one I've ever been to, I believe, that like there's no sponsors, like kind of by design. We just kind of go like, all right, pay our own way till we get there. And kind of, so we have complete autonomy to what we do, right? No one's footing the bill except for us. So it's like, we are going to talk about exactly what we want to talk about. So I've always appreciated that part of it.
And if it spirals off in one direction and, everybody leans into that, then so be it. It just kind of,
Oh, good.
That's really cool.
Okay.
I was just curious. So.
Do you do anything with team? Are your team members kind of all in the Southern California area, or are they dispersed around, and do you guys get together?
Yeah, even though I was slow to grow, I I was probably one of the first or second cloud-based accounting companies in LA that I know of. So so I started that a long time ago. So we've always been kind of a distributed workforce. And now we barely have any California employees.
Barely have any. How often do you get to see the team members? Like, how often do y'all get together? Is it pretty rare? I mean, it's rare for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all going to QuickBooks Connect, or not all of us, but a big core of us are going to QuickBooks. So.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But
there.
Yeah, I mean, my company that's the bigger one is new. It's only a couple of years old, and we had COVID. So
yeah, that's a good point. Hard to do that.
We
waited. How many? I mean, I guess we were all Atlanta based, and then we ended up getting dispersed and going remote. And then this is I guess our fourth Acuity Con. So at our size, we actually took a long time for us to get together. There were the very first Acuity Con. I remember there were people who, Matthew, you remember who that was? Someone who walked in who'd worked with us for how long?
4 years.
4 years, who'd never met us.
Yeah, I mean, I went up and gave, it was Cindy Cole. I told this story the other day.
Uh,
I went up and gave Cindy Cole this huge
listen,
hug, and she was like, we just met. Like, this is the first time we met in person. And I was like, there was no part of me that thought, oh, this is the first time we met in person. It was like I had seen somebody I've been working with for 4 years. I mean, it
yeah.
was just incredible to me that that was the case. I mean, I felt like we had been working together forever, you know?
It's
Have
So,
you
I,
had a chance to get feedback from the team? Like, because I'm sure you met a lot of team members like that, right? That you never met before at this round, since we're kind of everybody's traveling a little more now.
oh yeah.
So I'm wondering, maybe you don't have it yet, but what the feedback's going to be or what the general vibe is when you guys roll into next week. If everybody's going to feel a little bit more united and
That's a great question.
what's interesting, we are doing a survey. I think what's going out on either today or Monday. And the thing I'm interested about is the results of the feedback of the survey for those who were in person and those who were virtual, because we had it virtual as well too. And I'm super curious about the disparity in some of the rank. I mean, I'm sure there will be. I would hope and I would kind of believe the experience was probably a bit better if you were there face to face versus having to watch through a screen. I think that's kind of human nature of gathering. I mean, it could be. Some may be introverts who are like, no, I wish Matthew wasn't walking up to me and giving me a hug. I don't know. I mean, but
No,
but
seriously.
I'm curious about that. I don't know, but I do think at least for those who are in the room, it seemed like it was a good experience. I think we'll feel closer for sure. But
yeah, I'd be intrigued to take it one step further and to see like, okay, what type of person are they and what were their takeaways in terms of enjoyment, their level of enjoyment from.
yeah, I mean, I guess that would be interesting too, knowing because we do some personality testing. We've only done it through a few parts of the business so far. We don't have it on everybody, but it would be interesting if you could map it back to preferences of work style, right? And personality, whatever it might be, to see if there are those of us who are like, oh, the crazy extroverts who like to be, I mean, they just love it.
Yeah.
Or what, because that would be a good, like, deeper assessment of like, okay, about gathering, maybe not everyone likes that or feels comfortable with that. So
Yeah, the thing that really we can't simulate, or we haven't figured out how to simulate from a virtual experience, is the ability on one of the days is just with our partners, is just to be curious and to kind of linger and have these serendipitous interactions and learn things about people that's not cultivated. It's like, if you're in a virtual experience, it's me like drilling on the different vendors on different questions, and I was able to get people's questions live from YouTube comments. But the like one of the best testimonials I got that day was somebody that came up to me and said, like, I found technologies that I know you guys have probably talked about in Slack and this kind of stuff, but I found 4 different solutions that my clients are having problems right now, that now I know what to do, and now I know how to help them. And that was because she spent the time on what she needed to spend on versus me trying to do a cultivated experience during the trade show virtually. So I suspect you're right, Kenji, that the live experience was, well, if you're engaged, I guess. Is everything, it's really weird. Like, if you're really engaged, like, the experience can be great either way. Like, I don't know how you drive engagement.
I would have said though, oh yeah, the in-person is so much better than the virtual, until Marissa asked that follow-up question of like, oh, if you could look at it based on people's own preference and styles, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I have to think beyond like, well, what does Kenji like, right? So I kind of I was thinking of that through my own eyes predominantly, and then thinking, well, there's a lot of people. In fact, most people at Acuity are not like me. And so, yeah, I may have to think about that with Kelly, who ran the event. I'm like, I wonder if there's a way to insert some form of question or something that gets to that point about gathering, about is that a normal state that individual prefers? I'm not sure what it would be, but there could be something there to dig in on.
Yeah.
Who knows? So, well, it's good that you'll be gathering at QuickBooks Connect. We'll get a chance to see you there and hopefully meet some of your team. We'll be there as well. I guess we talked about some of the positive aspects of the gathering. I mean, we're very recent to us since we just wrapped up Acuity Con. I guess when you think about Santa Barbara, did you have specific takeaways? You were like, oh, I would not have gotten that had I not been in the same room with these people. I'm not asking you to get like specific, like, yes, this exact thing we went and implemented, but I assume especially, even though it was what you put together reform for us talking about getting together this year. I assume there were things of value you took away from that, of just us being all in the room together, beyond just going and eating and drinking at wonderful Santa Barbara restaurants.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's been almost a year now, so I
Yeah.
feel like some of the takeaways that I may have had that were fresh or not as fresh in my mind. But yes, I for sure went back and implemented a few different changes in pods. That was one of the ones, pods. Do you like pods? Do you not like pods? Is your firm operator
That was a
on
good
pods?
discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a big one actually. I believe in pods. I don't know if you can scale without pods, and I think that was one of the questions that we kind
It
of
was a
dove in.
fun one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you talk about like how expensive middle management.
I gave that perspective.
Yeah, it's like yeah. So I think solidifying some of those beliefs that I have as well. Although everybody wasn't a pod based firm, but the direction that I feel is necessary for growth, and I was able to like sidebar with them and see how they do it, and things like that.
Yeah.
We're not currently a pod-based firm.
I like how you said that, Matthew.
What? We're always exploring.
We are always exploring.
I'm never doing absolute statements anymore.
Ever.
I just said never. So that was an absolute statement.
That was. But yeah, that's one. The pods ones we've had some. I remember that conversation. We had that conversation. I remember you in the genesis of talking about the software company. We had some good conversation there. I remember coming back from the vineyards in the back of our ride, talking about the world of investing and venture capital and stuff like this. So I still remember fondly lots of discussions. Those may have been, who knows whether they made any sense after we'd been to the wineries all day, right? But they were fun discussions to at least have.
Okay, I have a question. Can I ask some intentional questions? Because I feel like Marissa is one of the more intentional people I know, and I like intentionality. And I love intentionality, Kenji.
I do know that.
Do you have any thoughts on when you're bringing people together like this? Like how many people is about the right people?
Like number, you mean?
Yeah.
It's not about numbers. I don't think. I mean, I think small is yeah. I mean, I would say probably under 20, right? Under 20. But I think it's just quality.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out if it's like 10, 12, like.
I think there's another purpose for the 10s. And you have your mastermind.
Yeah. Well, even with our leadership team at 11, I feel like it's starting to get big.
Yeah.
So at 20, like there's definitely people I wouldn't talk to while I was there, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say more than 20, I think is too much. I think
Used to be a lot of that. Matthew trying to science this thing, of course, but there's that quote. I've always liked the quote, and I don't remember who said it, but it was like the fewer the people, the better the conversation. I mean, there's probably some truth in that. For a period of time.
It's just the two of us, it's pretty awful.
It's pretty bad.
I love conversation. Number, right? There has to be more than 2 and less than 20.
That's right. More than 2, less than 20. I mean,
somewhere between 2 and 20. Okay,
2 and 20 has to be. Yeah. Okay, 2 and 20 seems right.
For the purpose of this, which is more of a fun based, right? Like, all jump in. Let's all talk about whatever. Really not a lot of strategic direction in the conversation. I think that 20 is good. Again, if you were to develop something more strategic and thoughtful, I think you would probably want to cherry pick the people who have certain strengths in different categories.
Yeah, like the recurring, like EO groups, like I guess an EO, like it's 6 to 8. If you're gonna have like a recurring group where you're like build, I think, isn't it 6 to 8 what they recommend?
That's that's what they say for is a very, very good number where you still have diversity of thought process, but it's manageable, right? You can execute toward a certain time frame and towards certain goals and objectives. When it gets larger than that, it gets unwieldy. Too small.
Working genius.
It's too small, then it's, not enough, not enough. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how that's, because your group, Matthew, that you're doing your mastermind is what? How many people in it?
7.
7. So that's about right. Okay, there you are, right in the middle. Perfect, right in the middle.
Well, I mean, I built that group out of the EO model. So
Yeah.
that's just, but that's not, we've never gotten together in physical like meeting form. We just meet monthly.
Well, but it's so another, I guess, corollary to what we talked about, and as you get bigger, right? And Acuity Con's sizable. I can't even imagine what people go through, kind of trying to orchestrate a QuickBooks Connect or a ZeroCon, right? I mean,
Oh my
those are
gosh.
just teams and teams and teams of people and millions of dollars, and it's just unbelievable. This logistics. But I think that's also where, like, when you and I, Matthew, when we do our offsite, like, we never plan anything. Like, it's like, hey, the two of us are going up here, going away for a few days as our partner retreat. And that's the easiest one we do. And we do very impactful, important things, but there's like no like planning agenda. When we do our quarterlies with the leadership team and we gather, like, that thing is like minute by minute, like, we have to have it super, super tight and scheduled. Otherwise, it's just kind of a disaster if we don't.
And then exec, which is 5 people, is in between.
It's kind of in
Just
between
going-
there. Yeah. So it just gets
Yeah.
that levels of complexity just go up. And I think it, so I don't know. I like the ones where you and I go on our retreat, Matthew, or we do things like Santa Barbara, where we're all kind of firm owners and our expectation is like, yep, we're all going to get together and it's going to be super organic. Like, those are just, those are so fun. Those are so fun. I love those.
That's awesome.
Fun, they're easy, they're no stress.
I know. We'll see if we can get these people this year to figure things out. Matthew, you said you had other questions intentionally. You wanted more intentional time.
No, I mean, she didn't really answer my first question too.
What?
What
Okay.
did you hope to get out of it personally? Because I'll answer the question for me too.
We already covered this though, but that is secret. Well, we talked about it. Yeah, I know we talked about it a lot.
It's secret? What
I mean, it's not secret between you and I because I already told you. But...
Okay.
Is it a secret? Are you keeping it from me?
No.
You can't let FOMO boy not have.
I said it at the last one. I don't know if y'all remember.
Okay.
I just planted the seed.
Yeah. Taking over the world, I guess. Well, okay, Matthew, then
It does have to do with taking over the world. Yeah,
it does. Matthew, what about yours then? What's your?
Mine is mental health. I built my group, my personal mental health. I found that I struggle to operate without accountability peers, without a regular group of people to meet with, and having a group of people that I meet with regularly helps my mental health in a way that I've been unable to replicate in any other way. I feel like after a while, those people start to care about me. Like, I feel like supported. I feel a lot of things, but I take my mental health more seriously now than starting about 6 years ago. And it's a real thing. And I think you have to be mindful of mental health.
Man, Matthew.
So which group are you talking about, Matthew, that really helps with that?
I have found just having a small peer group. So first for me, we had a group at church, so that was helpful. Then I had a group of other entrepreneurs that helped me through EO. That group is kind of having a different direction now. It's helping me in a different way. Think about some other stuff. But the business side of it it was just going a different direction. And I have a group of 6 other firm owners now that are helping keep me, I guess, centered and for what I need for me personally to be centered. Really, like, I found recently, I've tried to define who my friends are, and I've realized, like, I feel more like friends with other firm owners than any other people on the planet, like my friends. And so I've really come to enjoy conferences and really come to enjoy these external outings if you get to spend some quality time with other firm owners, because they're my friends. I actually listen to their podcast now because, like, it's like catching up with friends.
Yeah.
I found myself this last weekend, I was kind of missing people, so I binge watched Automation Town, or binge listened to Automation Town, and because I spent a bunch of time with Jason and Chad at ZeroCon, so it was nice. And it was like just hearing my friends talk was as therapeutic for me as the content, and the content's pretty great. I don't know, not to get too deep on everybody, but like
You did. Yeah, you
uh
went there. I like it. I
you
love it.
asked, like
I
I'll tell
love
you,
it. I
like
couldn't agree with you more.
that's
I
what
felt super alone before I found a group of firm owners that I admire and appreciate. I felt so alone. Am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right track? Am I on the right, like, maybe that was maybe mental health undefined. I just didn't know. And
I feel
yeah.
lucky. I have a business partner that I can trust implicitly, and I still feel like I need it for mental health.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And I can't imagine
I
people
can't
that go
either.
through it as solopreneurs, as solo firm owners, or trying to build it. I think that is the most courageous thing you can do, as is build a firm by yourself. And when people call me that are solo firm owners, like I'm like, what do you need? Because I'm like, I couldn't. There's no
Well,
way.
I did it. I did it by myself for a little while, and it was a disaster. It was the worst. It was my lowest point at Acuity. It was doing Acuity by myself. I've had two business partners, and I bought the first one out, and I ran it for myself for a while. It was awful. I mean, and that's maybe more about me and Matthew. It's probably why we make good partners. We like to do things alone. But I have always found the fact that you said that. Yes, I think the mental health piece, but I've also found for me, performance wise, like just I can name anything, whether it's business, professional, whether it's even athletic. If I'm training for something, if I do it in a small group, that's like I get my optimal results if I'm doing it in a small group. That's for me has always it's a weird recipe that's always worked if I've got a good gathering of people who I'm doing it with. I am not a solo.
7 people.
Yeah, that's right. I did, but when I was, yeah, I just think of things when I used to be in triathlons and things like that. I had a good, solid group. My accountability, I get out there and work. My entrepreneurs organization folks, same thing. Like there's a very clear recipe for me that like I can do okay by myself, but I'm happiest. I actually perform way, way, way better when I'm with like a group of other peers. Like it just makes, I don't know, something about that. So
I wonder if that's something big conferences could take away.
something that
I've,
what?
yeah, I mean, I've talked to some of the conferences when they've asked for feedback, and I'm like, I think one of the sessions should be like even having like a group of people, like how do you get from X to 1 million in revenue, so start to 1 million in revenue, and then how do you get to 1 to 3 million, like concurrently, three to
Rival
four,
finally realized that was what they
three
needed to
Did
do. So
they?
the
That's
last
3 to
good.
year,
5, that kind of thing, and you have the panel of people there that have had that experience. Because like like Kenji and I love talking to people, because like we effed up so much, like that if we could shortcut that pain for other people, like that are, and then we've started reaching out to those people in that are above us that are trying to like, oh, like you're talking about pods right now, like we reached out to people right now. We made somebody do 40 personnel evaluations because they have 40 direct reports. Like that's not sustainable, right? So we reached out to peers and being like, okay, how did you think about this when you, because they're 40 million in revenue, so they're 4 times our size, so like they've had to deal with that before, right? Like, okay, this is how they structure and they scaled, right? So having that has been beneficial to us. Being that for other people is just like helpful. But candidly, we have to stay close to smaller firms than us because they're more innovative than us. So we
Yeah.
can't, you got to go both ways. What a lot of small firms don't understand, from our perspective, is that they give back a lot to us because they're much more innovative than us in a lot of ways. So
That was exactly what I remember this distinctly from both. We were the first time I met you and we got to hang out in Arizona and then also in Santa Barbara. I came back and I told Matthew, I was like, oh my gosh, we're so behind from like thinking creatively and innovating. And I was a little like panicked, not like competitive, like, oh, I gotta go, beat Marissa and Jacob and Michael. It wasn't that. It was more of like wow, they are really thinking in super, super creative ways. Like I really, I said this, I think it may have been on the podcast, but I bragged to Matthew about the fact I'm like, oh, you know what innovative firms are doing right now? Like really innovative ones? They're spinning up and starting their own tech startups to solve problems. Like, right? That was something that came out of Santa Barbara. Where like people were like, hey, I had this problem here on recruiting or whatever. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and create a solution and start that up. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these people, I mean, it was I was like, that was good for us. I'm like, we need that from highly, highly innovative firms.
Well, and you guys have more ability to make something like that happen, which is great too. You guys have more power behind that. So while you may see yourself as less nimble, you also have strengths in other places that could be leveraged for that. I mean, yeah, and not just innovating our own products, but I think that, yeah, I mean, if we all bring people together, the right people together, we can really make some big, powerful moves.
Big moves. But I'll talk to the gathering. I'm going to give a to this. Hold on. I'm going to shout out a friend of ours here who sent me this book. I've read part of it. I haven't read all of it yet. Look at this book, The Art of Gathering. Gathering. That was from Twyla. Who's one of our speakers, of course. Miss Intentionality herself, Art of Gathering, and a cool book about.
Write it? No.
She did not write it. No, she did not write it. But she's good. Like she sends like books to people like every quarter. I got a bunch of them. She sent me also Matthew's favorite book over here. Matthew, what's your favorite book? Currently?
What?
Currently?
Well, I mean, Atomic Habits.
There you go. See that one? That's got to that one. But anyway, this one, yeah, Art of Gathering would be a good one. I'm about partway through it. But I remember, anyway, there's a resource. Go check it out. Twyla did not write it. I'm sure she wished she did, but check it out. All right, y'all.
Rate our beers?
Yeah, but also I'll say I'm super excited that you're going to be at QuickBooks Connect with your team so we can gather and get together. I know last time I think I was in Vegas, I was texting you and I'm like, Jones, where are you? Or why are you not here? That's the only part about it. Like you wanted to see your friends at these things. So I'm glad to hear that you will be at QuickBooks Connect and
I will be forced to go. Can't get back out of it now.
You're not backing out now.
You're going every day too.
You are going to be there. All right. Let me pull up our super exciting drink rating mechanism here. Untappd. Let me do a little screen share.
With third window being profiled. Third
window. I've got mine.
The beer of Santa Barbara. Third window.
Brewing. Third window brewing. I'm going to rate the Saison because I have it up here already. This was fantastic. This is going to be the highest I've ever given ranking I've ever given a Saison, and I'm a Saison nerd. This one for me gets a 4.75. I actually held back on this a little bit and had to save some because I'm literally going to, when I finish that, I'm going to walk into the other room and let my wife have some because she loves Saison and she's going to love this. So she's probably going to be like, hey, great. Thank you for bringing me your warm backwater, backwash Saison, but she'll still be happy. But it's been
that's
fantastic.
the second highest I've ever seen Kenji rate a beer.
That's awesome. I just, it makes me super happy. It just has
I just want to get invited back,
You are anytime. Okay, Matthew, you had the
I had
what's yours?
The Port Walkabout. My dilated eyes are starting to adjust.
Did you get new glasses today or something?
I did. I mean, everybody should be going to their eye doctor regularly when they're our age.
Especially when you're our age. That is a very good point. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started.
So I went it was a year and a half between visits and my prescription's already changed. So it's pretty bad. Where are we going? 4 or 5? We're going 4 or 5 with the Port Walkabout.
So you're not just judging the beer, you're judging Santa Barbara and its oranges.
I know. You got an extra 0.5 just for you.
Just for you. Okay. And Marissa, you were drinking the
yeah, I mean, I have to give this a high rating because it's called
tell me the name of the beer first.
The Next. It's called the
Next.
The Next.
And this is again Next from Third. Oh, the Next IPA from Third Window. There we go. All right, you can use quarter increments. You see how it works? 1, 0 to 5.
You can give it a 5 if it's your perfect beer. Just don't be shy.
It really is my perfect beer. Yeah, I'll give it a 5.
Give it a 5.
Yes.
By the way, too,
I was saving this one actually because I do love it so much. So I didn't play blind here.
I'll also say too, I'm just going to say this. This may come off the wrong way. We don't get many of the ladies in here who love the IPAs. So I have huge respect for like, usually it's like, oh, there's a, so man, bring the IPA game strong. I want to try the next time we get on here, but this has been super, super solid. So
right.
Marissa, you're awesome. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for hanging with
Always
us.
a pleasure.
And this is the sponsorship extraordinaire shirts.
Third window, folks. Third window. Google it right now.
But Matthew, what would you say about this too? What is always your request about beer if people send it to us?
Oh, thank you for thinking of us. Like, I really appreciate that you did
also that.
Oh, just in the spear. Then you're gonna be a sponsor. Is that what you're talking about? I don't know what you're trying to
you always say, and
just
I like
say
it.
it.
He doesn't remember it. Is that like send us a beer that's like super, that's something from like personalized, like that's from your hometown, like that's from your thing. There's a story 100%. Behind it. Like, yeah, you got a good story behind it. There's a great story behind this one. The fact that friends and family are kind of involved with this one, which is super, super cool. So
100%. And then that you tailored it to us, man, you're just cool. I really appreciate it. It's great.
Check out Third Window. Look to kind of, if you're lucky, maybe you'll get to gather and hang with Marissa at an upcoming accounting conference because she's badass and she's awesome.
Yeah, if you want to meet Marissa, come to QuickBooks Connect with us. It'll be fun. We'll all hang out.
That's where we all gather together. So cheers, everyone. Thanks for listening. Drop us a few comments. And yeah, you know what to do if you want to come on and sponsor. Send us some beer. Cheers, everyone.